Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is the face of democratic socialism. And since her brain is as empty as the promises of unfettered statism, I am absolutely fine with that. Every time she makes another gaffe, it only highlights how horrible the system is and how the bubble-wrapped utopian pipe dream that has been sold like Florida swampland to gullible college students will ultimately implode from its own dead weight. AOC supposedly has an economics degree, which I imagine she got through the mail by clipping box tops off her Panda Puff cereal, because she certainly didn't have to sit through any classes, or some rational nuggets would have seeped into her brain through accidental osmosis. She misread an article from The Nation where a Michigan State economics professor documented $21 trillion in unsupported accounting adjustments from the Department of Defense. That means money was moving mysteriously in and out through an opaque budgetary system, and it's impossible to see what cancels each other out. Of course, Alexandria's reading comprehension is as solid as her basic math, so she took that to mean the Pentagon was hiding $21 trillion in a camouflage steamer trunk, and if she could find it and pry it open, it would almost single-handedly fund single-payer insurance. She tweeted, quote, 21 trillion of Pentagon financial transactions could not be traced, documented, or explained. 21T in Pentagon accounting errors. Medicare for all costs tilde 32T. That means 66% of Medicare for all could have been funded already by the Pentagon. And that's before our premiums. Oh, dear. That's not how it works. The total Pentagon budget for the 17-year period the study covers was only $9 trillion, and that's a lot of money. But there's not some magical stash you can trade for Band-Aids and aspirins in the cellar. My problem isn't with how Miss Ocasio-Cortez looks or what she wears or how she talks. It's that she has been thrown so many softballs, leftist interviewers are getting group rate discounts on Tommy John surgery, and she never corrects her fundamental flaws or does basic research to fix her fuzzy math. Democratic National Committee Chair Tom Perez called her the future of the Democratic Party. And I hope, like this recent flirtation with diet communism, that future is short-lived and soon corrected. And that's the memo.
They are accusing Democrats of saying we spend too much. For anyone that wants to entertain that thought, I ask you to think about the last time a person has said in this country that the government does too much for them, that their Social Security check was too high, that teachers are paid too much. When was the last time anyone has heard or seen that?
Another quote. President Biden already lowered the deficit by $1.7 trillion. They say his budget would cut the deficit by another $3 trillion by eliminating wasteful spending on big oil and pharma, we're told. But it is in fact our Democratic colleagues who prefer to maintain their massive subsidies for the elites and the wealthy in their so-called Inflation Reduction Act just last year. My friend from New York, Ms. Ocasio-Cortez, said, quote, I ask you, think about the last time a person has said in this country that the government does too much for them. When was the last time anyone has heard or seen that? I'll say it. I'll say it right here. I don't want the government doing most of the things that the government is doing to interfere with the ability of the American people to carry out their lives. Federal, state, and local. When was the last time you had a bureaucrat show up and you said, oh joy, thank you. I'm really glad there's a bureaucrat here. When was the last time you were thankful for $32 trillion in debt, $100,000 almost for every man, woman, and child in America? Anybody thankful for $32 trillion in debt? Anybody? Anybody thankful for a border that's wide open being exploited by cartels while fentanyl comes in and kills our children? Everybody thankful for that Department of Homeland Security that doesn't actually secure the homeland? Everybody thankful for an FBI that went after Scott Smith and labeled him a domestic terrorist for daring to defend his daughter in a school board meeting because she was assaulted in a bathroom? Anybody thankful for the IRS knocking on your door, auditing the poor and the minorities 3 to 5 times more? People thankful for that? Are you thankful for the EPA or the Department of Interior that sent a man to prison because he had some ponds on his ranch in Montana? We have a government that is weaponized against the American people and is undermining our liberties, and they want more of it. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle want more government. They want more taxes. They want more spending. They want more bureaucrats knocking on your door.
How did we get to this point? How did we get to this point where we take children out of mothers' and fathers' arms? And, it dated back, family separation, the way that we have seen it, where we take children away from their parents without due process, began last year under Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen. But I had to dig further, and our staff dug further. But where did this start within the administration? She implemented it. And we found a memo. It dates back to April 23rd of 2018, where there was an official recommendation to, quote, pursue prosecution of all amenable adults who cross our border, quote, illegally, even though this applied to legal asylum seekers in practice, including those presenting with a family unit between ports of entry in coordination with DOJ. Here is the memo that I would like to submit to the congressional record. And so I looked at this memo, and it seems like this is the source of it. And it seems as though, Mr. Homan, that you are the author. It says here from yourself, Kevin Mikulinen, and Francis Cisna. Is this correct? Did you sign the memo?
I'd have to see what you...
I'd be happy to provide it. And we'll provide it over, but I would like to note that here it says the official recommendation. There were 3 different options presented. The third included the option for family separation. This initiative would pursue prosecution of all amenable adults, including those presenting with a family unit. Mr. Homan, your name is on this. Is this correct?
Yes, I signed that memo.
So you are the author of the family separation policy?
I am not the author of this memo.
You're not the author, but you signed the memo.
Yes, a zero tolerance memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen on for the United States to pursue family separation.
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation, of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Homan,
family.
with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum and go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay. Mr. Chair, the memo is submitted to the record for review.
Concern is, of course, we want protection and treat respectfully anyone who's a whistleblower. And no one on our side has publicly or in this committee criticized Ms. Newbold. But the process is not how this committee is supposed to operate. And that's our concern. I yield back to the gentleman from Michigan.
I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Ms. Cortez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's important that we refocus on what is at stake here in this investigation, in this matter. We are getting reports from the press and from a wide variety of sources that indicate that that people are, folks are suggesting that we are conducting foreign relations with folks with security clearances via WhatsApp. I mean, every day that we go on without getting to the bottom of this matter is a day that we are putting hundreds, if not potentially thousands of Americans at risk. I mean, really, what is next? Putting nuclear codes in Instagram DMs? This is ridiculous. We need to get to the bottom of this. And in order to do that, we have to issue subpoenas because people in this administration are not cooperating. And every day that there is an insecure line of communication that could be leaked, that could be hacked, that could be screenshotted without our proper channels is a day that we are putting our national security at risk. So the reason why we have to conduct and have these accommodations is because we are a committee that is committed to protecting whistleblowers. And I do have to commend the ranking member and to see the coordination between the ranking member and the chair in a commitment to whistleblowers, not just in respecting them, but in protecting them, is really admirable and important. And I wanted to note that because this is what protecting whistleblowers looks like. When they need a certain accommodation because they fear retaliation, we have to make accommodations. This committee in particular, as the Oversight Committee in the House of Representatives, we have a unique responsibility to protect those that have the courage to come out and say when something is wrong, regardless of the administration. Even in prior administrations, it doesn't matter the party. When something is going wrong in government, when there is overreach, when there is an abuse or a misconduct of process, we have an obligation to see and investigate it out. And so it is so serious, especially as a New Yorker, especially as anyone who cares about the security of what happens on American soil. Every day that we have an insecure line of communication, we have a responsibility to investigate it and to make sure that that we get to the bottom of it. So I just needed to put that note in, and I yield the rest.
Gentlelady yield.
Chair. Yes.
In Ukraine, you add to that this idea that he's not a big fan of foreign aid, why he might be a little concerned about sending the hard-earned tax dollars of the American people to Ukraine.
I'm sorry, is there a question there?
There was.
Okay. Could you repeat it, please?
I'm asking.
Time of the gentleman's expired, but I'll allow you to repeat the question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm asking, maybe we can kind of see why the president was a little concerned when you have the highest ranking officials in the government, the ambassador criticizing him, parliamentary member Lashchenko criticizing him, when you have Avakov, the guy who first told you about Giuliani, criticizing him. All this going on, and when you couple that with the concerns he has about corruption, the concerns he has about Europe not doing enough, the concerns he has about reluctance to send in the hard-earned tax dollars to any country,
Mr. Jordan,
frankly.
I have indulged you with extra time, but
I appreciate it.
My indulgence is wearing out.
I appreciate it.
There is a question, right?
Our indulgence wore out with you a long time ago, Mr. Chairman.
Well,
I'll tell you that.
But I'm about to gavel you down, so if you have a question, I suggest you.
I'm asking her: do you think there's maybe a reason that this was that President Trump's concern was justified?
You know, I can't speak for the president on this, but what I would say is. You've listed a number of actions. I think from my point of view, that doesn't create a Ukrainian government strategy to interfere in our election.
I didn't say that.
Mr. Jordan, please allow the ambassador to answer the question.
So I would just say that, you know, U.S. politicians will often criticize policies of foreign counterparts, even perhaps during their elections. You know, this happens in politics, and I think that it doesn't necessarily constitute interference.
Would you ever write an op-ed critical of a presidential candidate in Ukraine?
Jordan, your time has expired. Mr. Welch, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.